Hi everyone, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench. Right, here we are. We are at the bench. It is December the 16th and I am remaking a video I made last weekend. And the reason I'm remaking it is because the last one was bloody boring. And this one stands a chance of being quite boring as well. But hey ho, we'll have fun, eh? We'll have fun being bored. So yeah, you can just switch off or fast forward or whatever, but I've got to go through with this. So last weekend I put out a video regarding the beautiful border model 1/32 scale Lancaster, as you can see here, and I did some riveting on it on the back area here on the back of the fuselage, and as you can see that riveting has all gone down lovely, and we've got some nice straight lines. Get a bit better light here. We've got some nice straight lines here going along. Now in between here we have double row rivets, and I've had to wait because I ordered some more double row rivets to see what they're like. In this video I'm going to talk about riveting, the different types of riveting, the different, Jess is eating her bed, the different types of aftermarket rivets you can get, and the different types of processes you can go by to get your riveting done. Going back to basics, as you'll know, this is the beautiful Hong Kong Models A20, and as you can see here we have beautiful textured skin, just like the Lancaster. Very subtle, really nice. This is definitely Hong Kong Model's best kit yet. And I'm building this. If you want to come and watch, go and subscribe to the channel, and you'll see it all. It's all in a playlist, as is the Border Models Lancaster. So as you can see, this one is covered in recessed rivets. Okay, so they are little indentations in the surface to represent the fasteners that are used to assemble the aircraft. Now in reality, if you scaled those up 32 times, they would be a hole in the side of the fuselage the size of your fist and about this deep, which as we know is not correct. Well, it wouldn't be the size of your fist, they'd probably be about this big. So they're not strictly correct. However, if there were no rivets, like on a lot of the older kits, then it would look quite plain. So manufacturers, they're always fighting against opinions of people like me that will say, oh, it's got no riveting on it. Yeah, but in reality, if you stand 6 feet back from an aircraft, you probably won't see the rivets anyway if it's flush riveted, which is what I believe this aircraft was. I'll have to check my references, but don't scold me if I've got that wrong. So you would hardly see them, if at all. Okay, so the manufacturers are stuck between a rock and a hard place. If they don't add rivets, people will say, oh, the rivets should be there. And if they do add rivets like this, people say, oh, they're incorrect because they shouldn't be there. So they can't really win. So basically, pretty much every kit you get these days has recessed rivets, recessed panel lines, and that's what you've got. Days of old, they had raised rivets, raised panel lines. I personally can't stand raised panel lines. I can't see how some people say they're accurate. I can't see how a raised line stuck on an overlapping panel, yeah, but not a raised line. Recessed panel lines, yes, in real life, scale these up 32 times, they would be like trenches. But again, if you don't have them, because in reality you can't really see them, if you didn't have them, then everybody would say it's too plain. So, you know, it's a rock and a hard place really for the manufacturers, but this is invariably what you get. If you look at the Hong Kong Models Lancaster, the Border Model Lancaster, which is actually X-Wing Nut Wings, this has raised rivet detail all over it. And you can see it on the sides of the fuselage here. You can see we have raised rivets, overlapping panels. We have double rows, single rows. In some places I think we have treble rows. We have, you can see on the nose here, we have the stress skin effect. You have all the different spacings of the rivets, which is totally correct. You can see here we've got a double row, single row, very close together, single row, overlapping panel, single row. It just goes on and on. And the work that's gone into this tooling is absolutely phenomenal. And it's beautiful. Now, unfortunately, what's happened here, we have a seam here because you have this top cap here, you have a top cap here, and then you have this piece here, which is the fairing for the turret. Or if you're going to build the dam buster one, for example, where you don't have a turret, it has this panel here that's going to slot in. You can see that's got the shape piece on it, and that's out for a reason. So that's where the blanking panel goes. Hong Kong models have depicted it as a round piece. It's actually not. It is actually that shape. That is the correct shape. And then this area here, where the fairing would have been rivet on, would have been covered in doped linen, that red colour, to seal up the holes to stop any water leaks coming in. So there we go. So that's basically that. Now, unfortunately on this model, as I say, there is a seam line here. We've got a seam line all around there. We've got a seam line down there, a seam line down there, and one down there. So obviously to clean that seam line up, you're going to lose some of your raised rivet detail, and that is where raised rivets are a pain. Replacing raised rivets is a nightmare. Reason being, it's not so much replacing the rivets is difficult, it's the fact of getting the rivets to match, because you have all of this riveting here which is already there, okay, all down the sides, all over the wings, everywhere. I've got it here in the centre of the fuselage. So now, as you can see, I've sanded away up to the next line rather than have sort of different length lines. But you can see here we've got a double row of rivets here, just in front of my finger. Then I've got nothing because I've sanded it away, and then it's going to go, there's a double row of rivets there starting again. So I've got to find rivets of the right diameter, pitch and spacing, spaced apart longitudinally and crossways. Try and find something that's going to make it look like pretty much the same. So that's where this journey began, and that's what's led to this video being made. Because at the end of the day, what I'm hoping to show you through my Lancaster videos, so keep it out for the Lancaster videos, is which rivet sets to buy, which ones, Jess has got her bottle now, which ones closely match the kit. If you're re-riveting a complete project from new, the size of the rivets, the pace of the spacing and everything, you'll just do it to your taste, how it looks good. But unfortunately with this, or if you're doing it to the Apache or to the Sky Crane or whatever, you have got to match the rivet size and spacing so it doesn't look odd on the kit. You can see here on the underbelly at the front, I've used Quinta Studio ones, which are very, very close together and very, very fine. You can hardly feel them because it matches what's on the kit. Wherever there's an overlapping panel, the rivets are really close together. Okay, go and have a look at Neville Wielden's videos and you'll see they're really, really close together. I've got some carrier for them I've got to cut away. That'll be easy to do. So where there's an overlapping panel on the joint, the rivets are really, really close together, which as you can see here is just what I've done. Alright, so Wingnut Wings really went to the trouble to research this, and when you look at, again at Neville Wielden's videos where they're restoring this tail section at the moment, you can see we have a row of very closely spaced rivets, then they're sort of 1 millimeter apart, and then another row really close together, and then an overlapping panel, and it's exactly the same as that aircraft. So they've really gone to the trouble of really making this thing accurate. So I think it deserves all the time and effort we're going to put into it to replace all that riveting and make it stand out from the crowd. So if you've got recess riveting and you want to, you've sanded it away and you want to replace it, there's 3 different options that I use that you can use. And I'll show you here on the inside of this A20 fuselage because it's painted black and it will show up nice. The first and possibly easiest to do is a rivet wheel. Now this is an Izzy, a BZ from ASK Distribution. Absolutely lovely little tool. You can see the little rivet wheel on the end and it's very, very stable. It doesn't rock. You can get these from Trumpeter. It's a yellow and black thing. Do not bother. You can imagine it's a stainless steel wheel. You've got to press it quite hard into the surface and it's got a plastic bearing on it. So obviously as soon as you start using it, it just wears out. It cuts through the plastic. So this one here is 0.75, 1/48, 1/32 scale. You will find manufacturers will always use scale as their size. Okay, ignore it. Because as I've just shown you on here, we've got tiny rivets, less than 0.5 millimeter apart. We've got rivets here about 1 millimeter apart, which are bigger. That's just in one area about 1 inch square. So to say that, a certain pitch, a certain size is a certain scale, no. Do what looks good, what you think looks right. So basically this is a 0.75 pitch, all right, and it's a little, basically it's a photo etch wheel on the end. And what you would do is come along with your straight edge or whatever you're going to use as a guide, and you'd come in here like this, okay, hold it down and just go along, pushing quite hard, and just go along like this. There we go. And you should be able to see on there, come out rule, you should be able to see on there, if I hold this up to the light, you should see there is a, there you go, there is a row of rivets there, a row of indented rivets, and they're very, very small, very, very fine. And what you can do, if you've got a magnifier, you can pick up and go over them again. You can do them freehand. You don't have to use a rule. You can just go freehand like that. And you can see it goes pretty straight. Okay, so you can see those. See that row there? And if you push really hard, I want to be careful not to break anything. I'll do a line above that one. If I push really hard, you see I can make a proper deep indentation in there. Now bear in mind this is Hong Kong models. Hong Kong models is habitually quite hard plastic. If this was an old Airfix blue tack kit, I'd have probably gone through then. I was pushing it so hard. But there you go. So that's one option. Okay, that's using your riveting wheel, and this is for recessed rivets. The other one you can do, if all you got is a rule and a pin, okay, if you only want to do like, if you fitted the wing and you've lost some detail here and you just want to rerun those holes up there, you can just use a pin and just push it into the plastic. So if I wanted to do a line across here, I could just push the pin in, just like so, go across, just put the rivets in, and as you can see, when you look there, you can see we've got a line going across. Okay. The other thing we can do is use a rule. Alright, so we can put the rule in here. Careful not to damage anything. We can put the rule in here, and then we can come along and say every 1mm, come along the edge, press, come along to 1mm, press, come along to 1mm, press, and just keep going, just like so. Okay, put some decent music on, put a film on in the background you want to listen to or something, put a vlog on. But there you go, you can see you've got your rivets there. The beauty of this method is you can change the size of the indentation, you can change the depth by how hard you push, you can change the shape, you could grind the end really sharp, you could grind the end really blunt so you get a rounder indentation. So you can make it match your model easily, okay? So that's another method. The third and final method of producing recessed riveting, which works really well for modern or German aircraft, is this. And this is basically a jeweler's tool. I can't think what they're called. This is a little set made by MDC, Model Design Construction. And this is basically a little tool that jewelers use for picking up stones. And I don't know if you'll be able to make it out, but rather than just being a point, it has a hollow end. So when you push it into the surface, it makes a disc, which looks very, very accurate, particularly on German aircraft. So what we do is we've got this tool here, this piece of photo etched stainless, which has got like a sawtooth in it. So I can come along here and I can use this tool, and I can press it into the surface. Come along to the next one, press it into the surface. Come on to the next one. This is probably going to be quite hard to see. It's unfortunate, the only thing I've got painted that would show up these rivets is a Hong Kong Models kit. And as you can see there, I'm not sure you'll be able to see it, but in there, that is, instead of being recessed, that is, maybe if I give it a light sand, you might be able to see it. What we've actually got there is a disc. Rather than just an indentation, it's a disc. It's like a circle in the surface. I'll do some more. I'll just do them freehand. I'll give it a light. I don't know if you can see that, but it's actually making a disc in the surface. So, and it's very, very accurate, but it's extremely time consuming. And, you know, I mean, again, you see here they've got 1/32 scale. Well, you know, if you've got a 48 scale kit with that rivet pitch on it, then that's not 1/32 scale, is it? I don't know why they do this. I'm guessing it's sort of pretty generic, really. So there's your three options for recessed riveting. You've got the rivet wheel, you've got your you've got Rosie the Riveter. You can get all sorts of different ones. The only one I would avoid is the trumpeter one. You've got your pinpointing tool there, and you've got your jeweler's tool there for pressing in the holes, the discs. So that's recessed. So now we can put the Hong Kong Models kit to one side, And now we can look at some aftermarket raised rivets. So I'm going to get this put away. No, I'm going to leave it there for now. We'll look at some raised rivets, and I've got 4 different styles here. I've got Micromark, which is American. I've got HGW from the Czech Republic. I've got Quinta Studios, which is from Russia. And I've got Archer, which come from the United States. Micromark are quite hard to get hold of. I don't know of anyone in the UK that stocks them, but they recommend putting them down on a gloss coat. I'll show you all the decals in a minute. In fact, let's go look at them now. These are the Micromark, and they're basically designed for railway modelers. And as you can see on here, they've got double row and single row, and you can actually put them on your model, and they look absolutely great. The trouble is that they're HO scale. Okay, they're actually called HO scale, which is basically 87th or 76th or something, I can't remember now. But for a railway, obviously it's going to have big chunky rivets, and an aircraft isn't. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe on 32nd scale they'd be okay. But you'll see after the trial that they're not. They're too coarse, and their double rows aren't particularly consistent. So you can see on here, we've got, on that edge there, you can see we've got rivets missing. They're not the best, but I'm sure they've got their application in model railways and stuff. But for aircraft, I think they're a bit too heavy. And I also find the decal film very difficult to get rid of. Basically, I should have started by saying all of these decals all of these rivets I'm going to show you are basically water slide decals, and 3 of them are basically a rivet, a piece of resin rivet on a carrier film. So you're going to put down the decal like you are with this one. You can see, if I catch it in the light, you may be able to see the carrier film around the decal. One of them, HGW, doesn't have the carrier film, but then HGW has another downside, which we'll go to. So with this one, they recommend you put it down on a gloss coat. You dip your decal in water for a few seconds and then let it soak. You use micro set first, and then micro sol afterwards to settle the decal down, and then leave it to dry. So that's going to be the first one we're going to test. The second one we're going to test is HGW. Now these are 1/32 scale. Again, it's generic, but you might find you've got rivets on a 48 scale like this. Now these, they say you can put them down on Mr. Surfacer, and they say not black. I don't know why. Mr. Surfacer, obviously black is not reacting well to these or something, I don't know. They tell you to soak them in. Well, they also tell you that if you are going to use Mr. Surfacer, polish the model with 6,000 grit. Okay, 6 to 8,000 grit. I've always found that putting these down on Mr. Surfacer, they don't stick very well. It's far better to go onto a gloss coat. Okay, so bear that in mind. They say you can also put them down on top of paint. Now the beauty of these is they go down, and you'll see in a minute, there is no carrier film. So when you peel the top away, you are left with literally a silver dot. The only trouble is they have no real texture to them. So when you paint over them, you can hardly see them. And what they tell you to do is polish the model so you can see them coming through. As you're going to see in this video, they're not that good. They're not that high. So certainly they're accurate. They're absolutely dead accurate, because a modern aircraft like an F4 or an F8 or whatever, or an A4, they will not have, or an A6 should I say, or an A4, they will not have these great big raised domes on them. It will be a very, very subtle mark where the rivet was, like a disc almost, very much like this tool here. And these will give you that effect. So if you're doing something like an A4 Skyhawk or an A7 Corsair or whatever, you can put these on, and then after you've painted your grey or whatever colour, if you just give it a light polish, or even, just a light rub with a slightly rough cloth or something, it will polish the raised surface, and you will see the rivets. They will show, and I will show you that in this video. So the third one is Quinta Studios, and these are very, very nice indeed. They're very reasonably priced. I forgot to say, the Micromark ones were quite expensive. I bought a load of them from America because it was the same postage to have like 15 packs as one. So I bought like 12 or 15 packs of them, and I've never even used one pack. That's all I've ever used is is a bit of one sheet, and you've got 2 sheets in each set. So there we go. But basically these are the Quinta Studio, and I've bought a few of these because I want to test them all out on the model. And what I'm trying to do is find which ones of these suit which part of the Lancaster, and that's going to be part of the videos that I'll be doing on Lancaster, and I will tell you which sets I've got and which sets you can get that will match your Lancaster. So if you're like me, today is December the 16th, you might be waiting for your dam buster to arrive anytime soon. Then this, basically the dam buster is the same kit with just a couple of extra sprues, and basically what I tell you in this video will apply to yours, so you can go and get these. They're about £10, £10.50 I think from Hannants, or you can get them direct from Quinta Studios for €10, but the postage to the UK is also €10. So if you're buying a load of them, if you're going to buy 10 or 12 packs, probably better off ordering direct and save yourself some money. But go and have a look. They're on the Quinta Studios website, and they're also available from Hannants. And I've got lots of different sizes here to try. So there we go. By the way, on the nose here, that's the Quinta Studios 1/72 scale single row that I've used there, and I think it's going to look good when we get some primer on there. I may have to go up to the next size. I'll just remove those and start again if I have to. So the Quinta Studios, they recommend bare plastic, okay, because they're designed to be painted over, so they recommend putting them on the bare plastic, or you can use them on paint. Okay, I would thoroughly recommend degreasing the plastic and giving it a clear coat. The reason being, the carrier film, I did this in my last video, I don't think I'll be doing it in this one. I may do, we shall see. The carrier film is designed to go down when you put your microsol and everything. It's designed to sort of pull it down into the paint. If you've got no paint there, if you've got nowhere for the decal to go into, then it'll just be sitting on the plastic, and whatever you do, it will be sitting there on the plastic. Whereas if you put it on some clear coat, you can see on here, these have been put down on Tamiya LP9, and it is very, very difficult to see the carrier film. Okay, so that is what I would thoroughly recommend. Clear coat. I use Tamiya LP9 because it's very hard and it won't be affected by any decal solutions you put on it. And you can even then spray over it with Mr. Leveling Thinners, Mr. Colour Leveling Thinners, and that will really eat them down. I've done nothing to them other than micro set and sol because I haven't finished yet. If you're putting them on top of paint, be very careful with using Mr. Colour Leveling Thinners because it may actually make your colour run, so be careful of that. And then the final one is Archer. Now, I always thought this company had gone bust, but I got in touch with them and they're sort of starting up again. So I've got the 1/72 scale single row, okay, and there's 3 different sizes, 3 different patterns. And then I've got the 1/72 scale offset double row, and again there's 3 different patterns. So you've got 1, 2, 3 patterns on there, okay, and you've got 1, 2, 3 patterns on there. Now on the back of the fuselage here, on the Lancaster, this is what I've used. This is the 1/72 scale, and I've used the middle row. So there's a pattern there which is far more spaced. You've got the closest one, then this one, and then this one. And I've used the one in the middle for doing that spine area on the Lancaster in the central area. I don't really want to buy any more of these because at the moment, I mean, as I say, 16th of December 2023, they are not available in the UK. And you can see, yes, there is the price, $22. These are $23, which is a hell of a lot of money because it's only the size. It's the width of the pack, and it's that high. So you're not getting very much at all. You're getting one sheet. So that there is $45, and then you're looking at probably, I can't remember if it was $12 or $15 postage. So I'm looking at like £45 UK for those two. Now hopefully, if Archer is starting up again, maybe Hannants will start to stock them, or some other big UK company will stock them, and then at least we won't have the heavy postage fees. Because if Hannants stock them, the postage will be free. So they'll be like, I don't know, probably £18 and £19 or something, 17.50, maybe 18 quid. And and that'll be great if we could do that, but it's still quite expensive when you compare them to the Quinta Studio ones. You get more in length in the Quinta Studio ones, and remember they're about £10, so you know they're almost half the price of these. So if we can find a suitable alternative in the Quinta ones, that would be great. So the Archer ones, if you go on YouTube, they've done videos and they've told you how to put them down and everything. There's a couple of good little tips on there, but they recommend putting them down on a gloss coat. And what he does, he doesn't actually dip them in water, he brushes the water on the back of the decal. I've done all of those by dipping in the water and it's absolutely fine. He recommends not using microset. I've used microset on them and they've gone down absolutely fine. And then you let them dry and then you put microsole on them. And as you can see, I'll show you again, they go down beautifully. Really, really nice. So that what you can see there is just Mr. Surfacer. There's a seam line through there. I've got a ghost shadow line in there in the middle of that hatch I'm going to have to get rid of. But there's basically a seam line through there which you've got to cover up with these rivets. There should be an overlapping panel, but I wasn't going to try and do that. So I've just put rivets down there just to the side of the seam line, and they're down, and now we've got to put the double rows across. So so that's basically that. As you can see, they're all decals, they all go down water slide, they all go down with water, and they all leave a carrier film except for the HGW. So what I'm going to do is a little test and use all of them, and then I'll have a little card that I can compare to the rivets on the Lancaster, and then we'll go from there. So what I've done, I've made this is just a sheet of plastic, okay, and as you can see it's got little bits of dust in it as well. I've put pencil lines on here to segregate different areas, and then this area here is Black Mr. Surfacer, and this is painted with Tamiya LP9, so we've got a nice shiny finish, so they'll go down lovely. What I might do on the back, or get another piece of plastic, I'll put some down with no clear on there at all, so do like Quinta Studios said about just putting it straight down on the plastic. But you will see that when I put the clear coat on there, when I put the sole down, it doesn't tend to pull it into the paint. It just sits there on the surface, and you've got a much harsher edge when you put it straight on the plastic. So I would recommend a thin clear coat. This LP9, you spray it on, even if you spray it heavy, it pulls down beautifully. This is a little beginner's build I'm doing. This has had 2 lots of paint on it, so it's had the Outlaw paints first of all, then I've gone over with the AK Real Colour, then it's had a LP9 gloss clear coat on it, then it's had the decals applied, then it's had LP24 semi-gloss on it, and you can see all the detail, you can see the fine rivet detail on there, all of the detail, all the panel lines are still there. It's had, like I say, primer, Outlaw paints, Real Colour, gloss LP9, decals LP24. You can see how it pulls down, it's lovely, it really is nice. So don't worry about using clear coats too much. And then what I would suggest is after you've put the decals down, you know, put some level in or whatever, and then give them another clear coat before you go in with your paint and everything. That'll seal them in nicely. So what I'm going to do here is put some of these rivet decals down on this piece of sheet, and then we'll go from there. And I'll leave a bit at the top so I can actually write at the top what they all are. And I hope I've got the right number of slots on there. The reason I've got the black is for the HGW, because these being silver you can hardly see them against the white background. And I couldn't get Quinta Studios, I think it was 32nd scale single rows. I couldn't get them in black, so I could only get them in white. So you can see the Quinta ones are available in black and white. See their white colour on the front there, it says black colour. And I couldn't get them in black, so I got them in white. So I'm going to put them down on there so you can actually see them. So hopefully this won't be a pitch we need, because otherwise I'm going to have to put some paint on the model. Or just do it in a darkened room or something, I don't know. But there we go. So first things first, using these, I've just bought myself a brand new little pair of scissors. They're like $2.29 I think on Amazon, because I was using some smaller scissors and I really want to be able to see what I'm cutting. So first of all, if we start with the Archer, if I do a single row, what I'll do is I'll use one of these here. Okay, so, and I'm going to cut as close as I can to the rivets. Alright, so just going to cut this out like so. So I'm not going absolutely right up to them because you want some carrier film. If you go right up to them, you run the risk of actually popping the piece of resin off of the decal film. But the other thing is, you remember, if you cut that really, really narrow, then you'll have very little contact on the model and you'll probably end up ripping it off easily. So here, what I'm doing, I'm just going to cut this bit off the end there. I'm not going to cut the end right away. What I'm going to do is measure the length I need. So the length I want here is 40 millimeters. Okay, so I can come along and I can cut a length 40 millimeters. You see, I've left that bit on the end. I've done that for a reason. Okay, so we cut that off. We've got that piece there now, 40 millimeters. And what I'm going to do is right next to the first rivet, I'm just going to score a line just to cut the carrier film, not the paper, just the carrier film. And then what I can do is hold these in a pair of I can't remember what you call them now, but they're basically tweezers that close themselves. So I can hold those in there like that, and I can dip them in the water and then place them down. So I'll go and get some water and I'll come back and I'll show you doing that. Okay, so we've got our piece here. I've had a slight change of heart. I'm going to start off down the left hand side. I'm going to use the micro mark. Okay, so down here we'll have the micro mark. Then I'll use the Archer, and then we'll have all the different Quinta Studio ones across here, because this is what I'll use as a comparison card to put on my model. And the micro mark I know are no good, so what I might do at the end of the day is just cut it off. But I want to show you just how unsuitable they are when we see them. They would be probably much more suitable on a 1/24 scale aircraft, or as I say, what they're made for is industrial, trains and stuff. So one other thing I wanted to mention as well, one of the companies, I think it's Archer, they suggest you get the sheet, okay, get a rule, and then with a knife just cut along. I would never recommend cutting decals with a knife, because I've said this on so many occasions lately. What happens is when you cut with a knife, it's like pulling a blade through a field when they're ploughing the field, and it pulls the carrier film up in front of it, and you end up with a very, very hard, sort of slightly raised edge. It's much better to use a pair of scissors. You will see the difference. If you look at my decaling video where I did that hurricane, this little one here, whoops, this one, I actually show you the edge, where the difference in using the knife and using the using a pair of scissors, and that is in video number 7, I think. So anyway, we've got this here, right? So we've got our decals, we've got some warm water. So what I've done on the end here, like I say, I've just sliced. I've got the tweezers holding on the end, and what I'm doing, I've just sliced through the carrier film. And this is a tip I got from Micromark, which is really good. Not Micromark, Archer, sorry. So what I'm going to do is dip the decal in the water just for a few seconds, just enough for it to soak. And then I'm going to get some, you can see I've got a red and a blue brush here for obvious reasons. I'm going to get my micro set. I'm just going to put some of that down there. And as you can see, it kind of puddles. It sort of beads up. It doesn't want to stay down because of the surface tension. So that's fine like that. So we can leave that like that. Just see if this is ready to go. It's not quite ready yet. Just give it another little wet, like so. And it's always good practice to have it like this. And the reason is you can pull back and keep them fairly straight. And that's what I did when I did my Lancaster fuselage. So you can see now, yes, they are ready to go. So I can line this up where I want it to go. There's the bottom end there. So I'm just going to put my finger on and pull the paper out from underneath. Put the paper to one side. And then what you can do is come along with a cotton bud and just roll it down like so. Or you could just leave it. But what the micro set will do, it will help it. Apparently it helps the air escape. Okay, so there we are. So that's that first one down, and you can see we have raised rivets. All that we want, raised rivets. So in fact, what I'm going to do now is get some water on this brush, and I'm going to move it away from that edge because it's too close to the edge, just to show you that you can physically play with them once they're down. There we go. Okay, and what I suggest is wet the area above and below, and then if you keep pulling it like this, you will see it will straighten itself out, because it wants to pull down and lay flat, and obviously to ground a curve it's got to sort of kink up and concertina, if you like. So if you keep pulling it forwards and backwards until you're happy where it is, then it will stay there. Okay, and I'm just going to put my finger over that end and just roll it out, just like so. Okay, and then once we've done that, we can put some more microset on it. There's not a lot of people do this, but if you look at the instructions on microset, you are supposed to put microset down before and after applying the decal. So there we go. So here we have the Micromark double row. Again, I've cut the carrier film, so that's the Micromark double row there. So that's staggered. Okay, so we're going to put this one down. Again, I'm going to move that about, I think. Get it nice and straight with the edge. Just have it looking nice, hey, shall we? There we go. As I say, this one is pretty unimportant because I know it's no good for what I want it for. But once again, we can pull it about, make it sit down, make it go straight. There we go. And then give it a roll just to soak up any excess. And then we can put down some more microset next to it. We can see this one's ready to go as well. So again, we can put this one down, hold the end, and just pull the paper out. There we are. You could just leave it, or you could just mop up the excess. There was something under the end there I thought it looked a bit funny. It's probably a piece of fluff off the paper or something. So there we go. So that's that. We can just leave that to dry, or we can roll it down, whatever you want to do. If you just leave it, the microset will pull it down anyway. Okay, and then I'm going to put some more microset over the top. We'll just leave that to dry for 10 minutes. Alright, so it's had about 10 minutes. So we can come along now with some microsol. This is the red bottle. Just brush that on. Don't be shy with it, just wet it. Wash it on, and then we'll just leave that to dry. In the meantime, what we can do is come along with our archer, and I'm going to put the archers down next to it. The difficulty with these is because there's 3 different pitches in the packet. When we actually come to compare them to the model, it's going to be difficult to see. You can also see here how these are wrinkling up now. If I catch them in the light, you can see they're all wrinkling up. That's absolutely perfect, that's fine, just let them do that, just leave them alone. So again, as I say, archers say don't worry about using microset. I find that microset is brilliant, so I'm using it. I've never really known a company say don't use setting solutions. The only time I don't use setting solutions is with border models, decals, because they're very thin, they're very tough, they go down beautifully, but if you put microset down, they just go down, and it's like super glue, you can't move them. Now these come off the paper really quickly, so this will probably be ready to go straight away. There you go. Just slide the paper out. Now the beauty of these, it's a beauty and it's a disadvantage. They don't mind curling up a little bit, they don't mind going around sort of slight bends. As you can see here, now this is got itself stuck down, so I'm going to get some more microset just to get some wet under it. There we go. And then by pulling it backwards and forwards we can make it go straight. I'm trying to get it straight and parallel. I've managed to curl that end under. There we go. I've pulled that out again now. So as you can see, you can play around with them. They're not really fragile. There you go. So that one's gone down. So that's very nice. As I say, we're probably not going to get perfectly straight rows here, but at the end of the day, if you actually look at rivet rows on aircrafts, they're not generally perfectly straight anyway. Let me just leave that. I'm not going to touch that again. I'm going to get ready with my double row. Get that in the water for a few seconds. Just let that sit there. Get some more micro set. Put that down there. And then this will probably be ready to go because they go really quickly. There we go. That's what I do like about the archers. They come away from the paper very, very quickly. So you're not sat there forever waiting for them to separate. They just brush out any bubbles from underneath. And then again, as I said, I'm just going to leave that alone and let that set itself down. I'm just going to mop up that little tiny drop of water at the end there. There we go. So just going to leave that now and let that dry. Okay, slight change of plan, guys. What I've done in between the lines, I've actually put each of the three. So we've got the three staggered double rows there, and we've got the three single rows. And as you can see, they get further apart as we move to the right hand side. Okay, so that's what I've done there. So I just moved that one over. So that's what we've got. So we've got the double row and the single rows. So we can use those as a comparison. But as I say, I don't really want to have to buy any more of those archers for now. Because as I say, they're not available in the UK at the moment as far as I know. So now looking at the HGW, I'm going to put these on next on the black bit. The reason being, when you look at the instructions, they tell you to use Mr. Mark's software setter. I'm using Micro Sol and Micro Set because I prefer it. And then what you do is you put the decal down, you just blot it off, leave it for 68 hours. 68 hours, 6 to 8 hours, and then peel the top away, and you're just left with the rivets behind. So if you look at them here, you can see this is the sheet. Basically you have the paper backing, and there's like a film over the front, and you leave the film on. You don't try and peel that away. So I've got one here cut off to the right length. You can see that there. So what we're going to do is dip that in water and then leave it for a few seconds. I'm going to get some micro set, and I'm going to brush that down on here, and we'll put these on the end. Okay, so we've got some micro set there. We're just going to let that, you can see it's all curled up, so we're just going to let that flatten itself out, and then we'll pretty much know it's ready to go then. And then we can get that down, because as I say, it says leave 6 to 8 hours, so you know that's what I'm going to do. It's actually, what is it now? It's 10 to 8, so that will be what, 8 plus 6 is, which that's like 2 in the morning. There we go. So that's okay. So I'll do that, and then I'll peel it off later on before I go to bed. If you look on the website, it actually says 3 to 4 hours, so you know it's not actually that fussy really. So I just want to see if this is ready to come off yet. No, these do take a while to let go. Just give it a bit more water, and just wait for that to let go. There we go, it's going now. Right. So these are lovely because, as I say, they sort of just pull the paper out. They stay on the decals. The decal rivets are staying on the film, but then we're going to peel the film away. So we're just going to position this where I want it. My brush. Because this end doesn't want to move for some reason. There we go. Okay, so we'll just get that close to the edge because I'm probably going to cut it off afterwards because I know that these are no good for the Lancaster, and that's this sheet is all about using it as a, you know, offer it up and compare. So I'm just going to roll out the excess here, just like they suggest. And there's no point in using microsole on the top because the decals are sealed underneath that paper film. I've got a feeling that paper film there, that little piece on the end has got under. So I'm just going to take that away. There we go. Okay, so you can see that row has gone down there. And you can see they do go down very quickly, and you know, it's not particularly straight, but there we go. So just follow the instructions, just putting that down, leave that for 6 to 8 hours. What we can do is come in with a piece of tissue here which has got paint on it, that's okay. Just push that down just to mop up any moisture and let that dry, just like that. And I'm going to get a bit of water on this cotton bud and remove anything from there. So there we go. Now these have started to go down. So what I'm going to do is, you can see on here, if you look at these archer ones, the micro mark at the end, hopefully you can see on there the carrier film around the edge. Whereas with the first couple of rows on those archer ones, you can see they go down beautifully. So what we're going to do now is get some micro sole on the brush, and we're just going to brush that over those, and that should let them go down nicely. Okay, as you can see they're all wrinkling up, don't worry about that, don't touch them. There we are. So we just leave those. Sorry, I said don't touch them and then I touched them. It's okay to brush the microsole on. But what I'm saying is don't actually try and move them with your finger or anything, because they're likely to stick to your finger. So there we go. So just leave that for a while. As I say, we've got to leave this for 6 to 8 hours according to the instructions, or 3 hours if you listen to the website. And we'll just let those dry and see how they look. So I'll be back in a minute for you, and probably tomorrow for me. Right then guys, it is 2 AM on Sunday the 17th of December 2023. So this has been on here for about 6 hours. I've been out, I've had a few beers, I've had a good time. So if I sound a bit slurry, it's because I've had a good time. You can see these decals have settled down lovely. They're really, really nice. And what we're going to do, we're going to see about lifting this HGW decal film and see what happens. So I'm just going to get my knife under there, and hopefully what we will see is, there we go, a load of rivets in position, and there you can see, there they are, and they are very, very lovely. The problem with them is they're not very pronounced. You can hear, if I strip my fingernail over here, you can hear we've got the rivets. Here we have nothing. So they are very, very nice. The beauty of these things is the fact they have no carrier film. They are just literally decal rivets. Why is this so dark? I don't... We have basically rivets down there with no carrier film around them, and they are lovely, but they are very, very shallow. We don't have the contour that we've got on these. So there we go. Alright, here we are back again now, next morning, and I've got some strips cut out, as you can see here, ready to put on. And these are now the Quinta Studio ones, and they're my preferred choice because easily available, great price, and very consistent. These ones here, the micromark, they tend to be, you'll see when we paint them, they tend to be a little inconsistent, and they tend to vary in size, so they don't look that good. I think the best by far are the Archer, but as I say, very expensive and hard to get hold of. So I've got here the 1/72nd, the 1/48th, the 1/32nd and the 1/24th single rows here to go on. We're going to put those on. I've got 2 rows of the 1/32nd because these are white, and as you can see, or not, they are extremely difficult to see on the paper, so I would probably avoid them. You'll see I've got spaces. That's because there's a company in the UK called Riveting that make rivets, and they are also white, and I've contacted them and asked if they could send me some samples around a certain size, because they do many different sizes, and I want to try and sort of pin down a window to work in. I haven't heard back from them, so there we go. But they, as I say, they are white, and it makes them extremely difficult to cut out. I hadn't thought of that. You can see on here, there's the sheet, that's the rivets in there, and I mean, they're very difficult. I had to put the light to the side and form a shadow across the paper so I could see where to cut them. Anyway, so we'll get on with these. They go down lovely. They are very nice. I'm going to do the same here as I did with just on this one. Same here as I did with the Archer, which is Archer's suggestion of cutting the film on the end. But I want to show you that you don't actually need to do that. So we're going to dip that in there for a few seconds. Put that there to dry. Well, not to dry, to soak. And then I'm going to put some micro set down on here. Okay, this is the right one, isn't it? Yeah, I've made a running list of what I'm going to put in each place. And what I'm going to do is have single, double, single, double, single, double. I don't have the doubles in the 1/48th and the 1/72nd, so they'll be left blank. If I find I need them, then obviously I'll go and get them. But there we are. Now this will probably be ready to go straight away. Yep. Come off very quickly. That's the other beauty of these. There we go, and you can see how easy they lay down. And we got a nice straight line there. So I'll keep it just to one side in case I want to put another sample on. And I think there we can just leave that. That has gone down lovely. I'm just going to brush to make sure we've got the micro set all the way under. So that's that one done. You can see how quick that is. Now this one here, I can show you that you don't need to cut the end. We can just hold the end like this, dip it in the water. Okay, and then get our micro set. Brush it down there. We've got a nice puddle going on there. And then what I should be able to do is just lift it up, pull it down, and then just pull the paper away like so. And there we go. So that's that one. We'll get over to one side actually. So pull that up there, pull that down, pull it up, pull it down, just keep pulling it until it straightens it out. You can see on the end there we have a little bit of a line from the carrier film, so I'm going to get rid of that. There we go. There's that one, that's the 1/48th. I think this is going to be quite handy actually. I may replace those 70-second scale rivets around the nose of the Lancaster. I may replace them with these. But we'll see how they all look when they're dry. What I'm going to do then is put some primer over half of them and you should be able to see them. There we go. That's that one down. I just want to make sure the micro set is all the way under. There we are. Then we can do the 30-second scale and carry on. I'm going to put one on the black so you can see it, and I'll have one on here so that we can see it when it's painted. But yeah, I wish I'd had the 30-second in black, but Hannon's run out of stock. So I didn't want to spend the €10 postage to get them. Right, so I'll get those on. I'll see you back in a second. And there we go, all done. As you can see, we've got the single rows here. You can hardly see the white. You can see it. There's the white over there. What I have noticed, if you feel, obviously you can't feel this, but you may be able to hear it. The white doesn't seem to be as pronounced. This is the white single row, and this is the white double row, and this they're not as raised as those, so that's something to be mindful of. I think what I'm going to have to do if I want to use these, I'm going to have to cut these into single rows, or just wait for the 3/8 to be available. 30-second scale. What am I talking about? Wait for the 30-second scale to be available in the black. But here we have the 70-second scale, the 48th, the 32nd, and the 24th. And as you can see, the 24th is very, very pronounced. I've also done, as promised, I've done it on a piece of bare plastic, so that's not painted or anything. And as you can see, the carrier film is quite defined. So what we're going to do now is just give it a quick spray with some leveling thinners just to help them sort of settle down a bit. So we'll see how that goes. Right, now I have wiped over these to remove any residue, and also I forgot to mention that in my beginner's video for decaling, so I'll have to go back to that. But here we've just got neat kind of leveling thinners in the airbrush, and I'm just going to paint this on here without blowing it across the bench. I'm just going to put this on here, fairly wet coat, just to let it get to work. As you can see, all the dust and everything on there. And that's run out already. So what we should see is that will actually start to really eat into them and really pull them down. I'll just get some more thinners into the airbrush rather than stop the video again. We'll do it on the neat plastic, and then after this is dry, we should be able to see the difference when we look at these. So get some on there, same as that one, all nice and wet. We'll get down across that bottom edge as well. There we go. So we just leave that now to do its thing, and they should all just settle down and burn down. So we'll see what happens. So let that dry and then I'll be back. Right, so the thinners has dried and it's had a very thin coat of LP9 gloss clear just to seal them in. And I've also cut off this bottom edge because bottom edge because I want to be able to sort of use this as like a comparator, so I can put them, I can put them in where the original rivets are and see which one best matches what's already there. You see, like that there. You can see they match pretty well. They're spaced a little bit bigger and they're spaced further apart. You can see that's no match whatsoever, and here that's no match whatsoever. So just good to use them like that. What I'm going to do now is get some primer on there, because when you've got the grey primer on there, that will show what it really looks like. So what I'm going to do, actually, first of all, I'm going to mask off these areas where I have no decals, because if I want to put decals down in future, I want them to go down to a gloss surface. So I'm just going to mask those areas off and then I'll be back. Alright, so let's wrap this up. Here we go. So, as you can see, I've got Mr. Surfacer finishing primer 1500 sprayed on there, and we can see that the rivets are showing through. Right, so first of all, let's look at this one which is just on the plastic. And as you will see, we've got a lot of dust. I don't know why, but a lot of very fine dust. I don't know if it's... I've just got a new roll of this Blitz kitchen towel on. I wonder if it's that that's causing it. It's everywhere. It's really fine, tiny bits of dust. We'll have to see. Anyway, so as you can see on here, we've got the rivet decal in there. I can catch it in a shadow. If I put the light to the side, I think that'll help with our shadows. So we can see here that the rivets are there. Okay, and the carrier film is quite prominent. So, Quinta Studios recommend putting them directly on plastic. I would rather put down a clear coat first. You're also guaranteed better adhesion. I know in the past, as a youngster, I've put decals straight on a plastic model and they've just come off. And whether that was because I didn't wash the plastic or what, I don't know, but probably. But anyway, so first of all, let's have a look at this HGW one, if you can. You can just see the silver dots appearing out of the ends of the grey primer, and that's the HGW decal. Now, the beauty of these is, as I say, they have no carrier film, so all you get is the rivet. But if I can catch it in the light so that you can see it, it's very difficult to show you because it's so very faint. But it's actually very accurate for, as I say, for a flush riveted fuselage. It's very accurate. It's very nice. They do sets which are all shaped and everything for certain aircraft as well there. It's very nice. As you can see, for the Lancaster it's no use because the Lancaster moulding has these raised rivets, which, as I've showed you before, you can see here, and they're very, very positive. You can see them here just in front of the tail plane. They're very positive, and you know they're very sharp and very small. So the HGW are bigger, flatter, less pointed, so no good for the Lancaster. Here is the, next to it is the Quinta Studio. This is the 32nd scale white, and I'm really not happy with that at all. You can see the carrier film is quite prominent on that one, and the decal is hardly even visible. You can hardly see it, you can hardly feel it. It's, when you compare it here, this is the 32nd scale double row, okay? When you look at that in the light, you can see very, very prominent, definite decals. It's these here we're looking at, where I've got my finger now. So, so yeah, move along to the other end, right? So we've got the micro mark, and as I said, carrier film is quite prominent. The rivets are quite large, and also you can see here on the double rows, this is what I said, when you get a coat of primer on there, you can see that the double rows are a bit of a mess. And yeah, I don't know what it is. It's almost like the resins sort of bleached into each other, but not recommended. Here we have the archers, so we got the 3 single rows and the 3 double rows there, the 3 staggards, and there's a little wrinkle in the middle of that one on the bottom there. That's my fault, but as you can see, they are probably the best of the bunch. They really are very, very nice indeed. You know, you can see the rivets, they're quite pronounced, and the carrier film is hardly visible, particularly on the single rows. So very, very nice. Downside to them is cost. It's the only downside is cost, and the fact that at the moment I know of no one who has them in stock in the UK. So if you know different, let me know in the comments below. Yes, there are lots of people who have Archer rivets or Archer decals, but they don't have the single line and double line rivets. Not that I've found anyway. So here we have, this is the first one. This is the Quinta Studios 1/72nd scale single line. Okay, you can see this is the one I'm pointing at now, where my fingers are pointing now, and that is the 1/72nd scale single line. As you can see, carrier film is visible, but not really very visible. And the decals are extremely fine. The rivets are extremely fine. Coming along here, this is the 48 scale. I think this is going to be of great value on the Lancaster. Again, carrier film not very evident, rivets nicely positive, and that you could hear them there. Nice, and they still show through under a coat of paint. Here we have the 32nd scale. That's the white, which I'm not at all happy with. Very, very flat, hardly visible at all. And then here we have the 32nd scale double rows. Now with the Quinta Studios double rows, they give you, where's the double row? Here we go. You can see on the sheet they give you one half of the sheet is equally spaced, and then the other half is staggered. So you've got them all just in a line there, and you've got them staggered here. So that's really good of them to do that, rather than make you buy 2 sets. So you can see there, that's the double rows where my fingers are now, and they're very, very nice indeed. And then next to it here we've got the 24th scale single, and then the 24th scale doubles, which as you can see are very prominent, very large. Really, really nice. So the reason I've done this, and I've left this edge, I cut the edge off, didn't I, so we get the decals right up to the edge, and also I've left the paint away from the edge, is so that I can use this to see which is going to be best for the Lancaster. So if we get the light back up above again, if we sort of come down to, where can we find some prominent riveting? Let's look around the nose. So if we look around here, okay, we can get these rivets, and we can see that if we look at this line here, it goes across to the middle of that window, we can see that the 24th scale is too heavy, too far apart, you know, not very good at all. The 32nd scale white looks pretty good, but it's not prominent enough. The 48 scale looks quite good, but they're a little close together. So what we need is the 32nd scale black. If you compare one of the rows of the double row, we can see that it's quite a good match, both for size and distance. Maybe the rivet's slightly too large. Maybe the 48 scale would be better. Certainly one of the archers, see that archer there with the single row furthest apart, is practically a perfect match. So hopefully the 32nd scale in black will be a perfect match. But yeah, you can see there, if we look at that rivet line there where I've got the top of the sheet now, and you compare that to that archer there, you can see that is a perfect match. But then when you look at the verticals, you see they're closer together, so then the Quinta Studio 48 is better. So this is what I'm saying, this model is covered in different sizes and pitches, so you'll have to work that one out. So there we are, guys. That's been a riveting video. I'm sure you're asleep by now. If you've got this far, well done. Hopefully you've learnt something from it. The Quinta Studio ones are available, as are the HGW ones. If you're in the UK, they're available from Hannants. As I say, Quinta Studio, you can order direct from them on their website, and they are slightly cheaper. But then you've got the postage, which is, so if you're only buying one set, it's not worth buying from them. The Archer, as I say, America only at the moment, I believe, and very expensive. And the Micromark, for us aircraft modelers, I'd forget them. They're great for your trains and stuff, unless you really need some heavy riveting. But then the Quinta Studios 24th scale is probably better because they're a bit too far apart, I think. Maybe on a 16th scale aircraft or something they'd be alright, but you can see they've got that pretty heavy carrier film on them as well. So there we go. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, there's something wrong with you. Joking. But thank you very much for watching, and I just wanted to make up this card and I thought I'd bring you along for the ride. I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.